Good day. And we're back with Joe Tumalo. And I want to talk to Joe today about major gift fundraising because Joe has become an expert in working with people on their major gift fundraising work. And you've really established yourself as an expert in major gift fundraising, as somebody who goes out and talks to people about how they can become better or even just start doing major gift fundraising. What led you to that? Why is this a passion of yours?
Well, I spent about 25 years in sales and sales management.
Right.
And when I stumbled into fundraising, I realized that there were so many similarities. The old expression, nothing happens if you're sitting behind your desk. And I was always very, very careful and conscious that it was a relationship-based sales process. That it was building trust and relationships first. It was about helping people accomplish what they want to accomplish.
So it wasn't like slapping somebody on the back and smiling and grabbing their wallet as you left the room, right?
No, the old adage of they could sell ice to an Eskimo always made me cringe because I don't want to sell somebody something they don't need, that they're not going to benefit by. And so when I got into fundraising and working with fundraisers, I realized that a lot of fundraisers, very well intended, very talented, very smart, have sometimes it's psychological hang-ups about that are preventing them from going out in a systematic way and building relationships with people that will ultimately lead to these major gifts.
Now that's interesting. You say their own hang-ups that way. Is it have something to do with not having like a product like in sales where you're giving something to somebody?
Well, yes. And we need to understand that donors not getting anything tangible, right? And it logically, intellectually, it doesn't make sense to give away our hard-earned dollars. If we're dealing with people that are charitable and philanthropic, we need to look at it, I believe, as we're helping them.
Right.
In some cases, we're doing them a favor. We talked about on the Planned Giving reel that when we're dealing with people that love the organization, that have been contributing to the organization, we're doing them a favor by offering them Planned Giving options, other options, rather than constantly going back and asking for money, for outright gifts, for checks. The Planned Gifts is a great way for donors who want to do more, but kind of feel like, you know what, feel like I'm always reaching into my wallet.
And major gifts, you're helping them meet an objective of some sort as well.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, tell me, now you've been on both sides of this fence, and I think it would really be helpful for our friends here to understand what is the difference between sales and fundraising?
Sure.
Yeah. What is when somebody, a board member, a member of a staff or something comes in and says, "Oh, you just do sales." That's and kind of dismisses you straight off. What do you say? What is the difference?
Well, I don't think there's a lot of differences. In fact, I was talking to somebody today at a major university, and they're starting to hire people who have sales experience.
Okay.
Because they know they have the discipline and the constitution to go out on a consistent basis and get in front of people and not even afraid to knock on doors if necessary.
So a lot of the mechanics are the same.
The mindset, the process, the mechanics, yes. But as we just talked about, there is different. We're not exchanging a tangible thing.
Right.
Product, service, whatever it is. Well, Matt, what do you think the differences are?
Well, I think there's a number of things. Like, first of all, like my people have heard me say a lot these days, fundraising is something I call 1-to-1-for-1, right? It's me to you for somebody else who's the mission recipient. And so sales has one objective, which is to sell the service or product and to satisfy a need. It's a bilateral exchange relationship, whereas fundraising is trilateral, right? It's me getting money from you so that this other party is somehow served. And so that's a major difference. I think there's commissions. Now, not all sales are commission sales, but when you start rolling in commissions, things become very short term. By definition, like you said before, major gift work, any fundraising work has to be long term because it's relationships there. And so commission structures don't work well in fundraising work. There's and the mission itself. It's the mission is essential to fundraising, not so much in a business environment. I mean, is that some of the things you find?
Yes, and I, if I may,
Please.
would caution people, don't get too caught up in sales, fundraising. I think people think about it too much.
Interesting.
It's, again, if it's relationship-based, we're building trust, we're helping the donor. All I'm saying is I'm using the disciplines and the skill sets that I learned in sales, which is identifying my prospects,
Right.
researching my prospects, having a process and a system, having goals around how many calls I'm making, how many visits I'm making.
Okay.
Understanding that nothing really happens in the fundraising space unless I'm connected with donors and making that a priority. So figuring out no matter how busy I am with my special event, I still need to spend time today, this week, this month with donors in that, keeping that process. I don't use the word moves management, I use donor relation management.
Right.
So call it whatever you want. That's what it is. And when I think so many fundraisers, yes, they feel like going out and visiting with donors is important, but they don't make it a priority. And when you're a salesperson, that's your priority, is to get out and be in front of people. So that's where I think it's just forget all the.
Well, so
what
how
the
do you
difference
deal
is.
with
Yeah.
how do you deal with when you're right, got to get out, right? But also you have to stay in to be able to learn what you got to talk about when you get out.
Absolutely. It's I don't use the term time management, I use choice management. It's the choices that I make on a daily basis.
Okay.
And I have to schedule. I have to do both. Yes. I'm not discounting the fact that I need to be in the office. What I am saying is that I need
not so
to
much in
schedule.
the office, but actually see the mission in action.
Absolutely.
So you can talk about that. So that's not at your
Absolutely.
desk necessarily.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I might go down to the cafeteria and see our clients, special need clients, and talk to them. And it reminds me, yeah, this is why I'm raising money. This is what I'm doing to help these people. By all means, what I'm saying is scheduling it, being intentional about, I'm going to find, if it's a half hour today, I can find 15 minutes to make 2 phone calls.
Right.
And having a goal. Maybe I want to make 10 phone calls. There's all these great little mnemonics that people use. 10 before 10. I had a client once say that he makes 10 phone calls before 10 a.m.
Right.
And I saw something else recently online, 5, 5, and 3. Call 5 donors this week.
Yeah, I've sat in the back of your car, or in your car. I've seen all those tapes and things sitting in the back seat. You know, you grab one, you throw it in.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, that's a great thing to do when you drive a lot. I talk to fundraisers. What do you do when you're driving? Well, I listen to sports. I listen to music. You should be listening to books on tape. You should be listening to books of all, so that you're well versed
Right.
in life. That you listen to books on communication, dealing with seniors, building trust. There's so much out now. Books on
tape
or
whatever
they
we're
call
calling
them, these
now.
kids
Right.
call them these days, MP3 or
Yeah. Right.
streaming. And so spend your time, if you're in the car, it's the, Brian Tracy used to say, it's your university on wheels. Use that time wisely. And so many times I'll listen to something in the car and I'll go into a client and I'll use it right away.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So, major gifts is a very efficient way of raising money, right? How do you identify people who you can start talking to? What is the? I mean, do you cruise events? Do you look at giving patterns? You know, how's that work?
Sure, and there's a number of processes out there, and you and I have talked about the ABC. Do they have ability?
Yep.
Capacity, right? Do they
Right.
have financial?
Well, for my group, I always say CIA.
CIA.
Capacity, interest, access.
Exactly.
Right.
So that's a big one.
Mm-hmm.
And always want to start there, right?
Yep.
And especially people that are connected. If we don't have that, and I've got some clients that are building,
Right.
we don't leverage our relationships enough. We all have maybe several hundred, at least, people that we know.
And board members know people.
That they know, yes.
Yeah. And staff knows people.
Yeah. So a great thing to do, I love doing, is take a piece of paper and a
Right.
pen, and on that piece of paper, block out 6 to 8 different columns, 6 to 8 boxes. And in each box, put a heading, a category. One box can be family, neighbors, coworkers, board members,
Okay.
social, if could be people at the gym. And then within each category, write down names of people you know in those categories. And just make a list, and so that at the end, that form might have 50, 75, or 100 names on there.
Okay.
And then go into each category and say, my neighbor, Mary, she works at a hospital. Maybe she knows somebody there that's passionate about healthcare.
Right.
Maybe I'm working not for a hospital, but let's say a cancer-related type of charity. Maybe Mary knows somebody that's passionate about finding a cure for cancer. Maybe she can introduce me to somebody. My board members, I haven't talked to Sue in a while. I need to get together and ask Sue, who does she know that's as passionate about cancer research as she is? So we're not leveraging our relationships enough.
Good.
And so in the back to that sales world,
Yep.
we live and breathe by referrals.
Right.
And
Right.
I would argue that fundraisers should be asking and giving just as important.
Right.
So when I meet with a board member and ask, hey, Matt, who else do you know that might be passionate about this work as well? I should also finish that conversation by saying, Matt, how can I help you?
Or maybe you've met somebody else already who can be a good connection for that person.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
So asking for referrals, introductions, I like to call them introductions because there's a difference between a referral and introduction.
Okay.
Introduction is you pick up the phone, talk to that person, see if they'll take my call.
Right.
And so I need to be conscious of returning the favor.
Okay.
So that's a big thing, big area of opportunity I see with fundraisers is leverage your current relationships.
And yeah, the current, not just your personal relationships, but the relationships of the people who are in that organization whose interest it is to see that organization succeed.
Absolutely.
Excellent. So, Joe, I know that you've kind of pulled together a lot of this wisdom, this knowledge you have about fundraising, about how to apply sales techniques to fundraising, things like that, to a book. Tell us, what's your secrets, Joe? Just between you and me.
And 50,000 other people.
Right, 50,000 other people.
Yeah. Well, there really is no secret. It's about being intentional, about getting out. And the book is called Go See People.
Sounds good.
Yeah. And it's on my website at joetumalo.com.
Okay.
And I have lots of you and I have done some podcasts there.
Yep.
Lots of other educational resources for folks, videos and podcasts and blogs.
Well, in the book? What
Yeah.
are you talking about? Go see people. So you're talking about networks. You're talking about relationships.
Goal setting.
Okay.
And managing goals, tracking behavior and results. Because I'm convinced that too many charities focus just on the results for goals.
Right.
We have X amount of dollars we want to raise this year, right?
Okay, yeah.
X amount of alumni participation, all very important.
Right.
Equally important are behavior goals. How many times a day, a week am I going to pick up the phone? I call that dials. That's my favorite. Because that's the only thing I can control ultimately is my behavior.
Right.
I can't really control whether a donor is going to pick up the phone, whether they're going to respond favorably, whether they'll agree to a visit, whether they'll say yes to the gift.
Yep.
But I can control my behavior. What's the behavior I'm doing to get to that place? And I can monitor, track my behavior, and to make sure I'm doing it well. Peter Drucker said it's about doing the right things right.
Right.
Being conscious of what I'm doing, what I'm saying. Practicing my voicemails, leaving myself a voicemail or a friend pretending they're a donor and I want to set up a visit. So the book talks about that real practical. I'm real into the practical, tactical stuff. Tell me exactly, not so much the theory, but what do I need to do to be more effective, to get in front of more donors, to build deeper relationships, and ultimately raise more money.
Excellent.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, Joe, thank you very much for being with us today. I know our audience is going to get so much out of what you had to say, and I appreciate you coming in.
My pleasure. Thank you, Matt.
Bye.
Thanks.